Hey game designers, in this video I'm going to teach you guys how to use the Unity 2D lighting with the Universal Render Pipeline and basically teach you how to change lighting and control lighting to add effects to your scene. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and go to the Creators Kit, and we're actually going to use the original scene, the sample scene. So if you go to here and we go to Scenes, you will see the sample scene. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this here. So I'm just going to left click and I'm going to use Control D to duplicate. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this one. Let's name it my URP scene. And URP stands for Universal Render Pipeline. So let's go ahead and create this scene here, which is just a copy of the sample scene. Let's go ahead and double click the sample scene. Right, you guys remember this original sample scene when you guys first started using this kit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here. Okay, and the first step, let's just kind of organize our workspace here. I'm going to close this. I don't need this. And let's go ahead and get started here. All right, so first thing we need to do is go to Windows and import the package. So we're going to go to Windows, Package Manager. You're going to wait for it to load up here. I'm going to go ahead and click on Unity Registry. We're going to type in Universal, and it should pop up pretty quickly here. Universal RP here, again, stands for Render Pipeline. We're going to click on Install, and it's going to install for about, I'd say about 30 seconds or so on our computers. Okay. Okay, so while it is importing, let's go ahead and move on to the next part. What we're going to do next is actually create our own folder. So it's not going to actually let me edit this. So let's go ahead and give it a little bit more time. It shouldn't take too long. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go to My Assets and create our own folder here. So we're going to right click, create folder. And we are going to create a folder that we're going to call My Universal Render Pipeline, so My URP. Okay, we're going to double click in here. And now that it is done installing, we're going to go ahead and close this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to right click and we're going to go to create. And now we have this folder called Rendering, Universal Render Pipeline. And we're going to use the very first one, which is the pipeline asset. Okay, go ahead and create this. Go ahead and just hit enter to use the default name. You can see here, as soon as I add the asset render also got created. Now we're going to create one more object. We're going to right click, go back to create, rendering. And what we're going to create now is a 2D render experimental. Let's go ahead and add that. And just go ahead and hit enter as to create the basic name here. Now that we created these three objects that basically create a render pipeline to create this lighting effect that we want, we kind of need to link everything together. So we're going to start with the render pipeline asset here. And you can see here in my inspector window that there is a render list. We're going to drag the 2D render data into there. So I'm just going to left click, hold, and drag it over here. And that connects the render data to the pipeline asset. And then the next thing I'm going to do is going to go to my project window on project settings. I'm going to go to edit, project settings. It will pop in its own menu here. I like to keep this menu kind of to the side of inspector, kind of have them both side by side here. So inside here, there is a tab called graphics. So make sure that you guys click on graphics here, and you'll see that it has a scripter render pipeline settings, and we're going to basically drag the pipeline asset into here. So now we have it all connected. We have the data connected to the asset connected to the project, and now we have applied basically the render pipeline. You will now notice that the scene doesn't look any different than it did before, because basically all of these assets that we are populating the world has not actually had the render pipeline applied to it. So we're going to fix that by going to edit here. And we're going to have this section called render pipeline. And then we're going to go to here, universal render pipeline. And we're going to go to 2D render. Okay. And after we go to 2D render, you will see the option to upgrade scene to 2D render. Now, Before you guys do this on your actual game, make sure you guys save a copy. So basically the scene is a sample scene. I already have a backup copy. Once you do this, this process is not reversible. So now I'm going to upgrade basically the entire scene to use our 2D render. And it's going to give you a warning. This upgrade will change references, sprite renders, currently open scenes, and lit materials. You can't undo this operation. Make sure you save the scene before proceeding. I will now proceed. And now we have a dark scene. So if you hit play right now and see if the game will turn dark, you are going to run into an error, and we're going to fix this real quickly. So if you hit play, you will see this kind of blue, navy blue color, and we need to fix this. So when you guys apply the render pipeline, for whatever reason, it changes the priority of the main camera. So just left click on main camera, go back to the inspector window, and change the rendering priority here. Rendering priority from -1 to +1. Once you do this, we'll hit play, and now you will actually see a dark screen where the world is dark. Okay, so now we know that all the objects have the rendering pipeline applied to it. We're going to start adding and sharing with you guys some to add some light to our scene. But the great part is, again, we're going to control the light. So we're going to right click, and we're going to start off by creating, go to light, 2D. We're going to create a global light. So let's go and click on this right here. Again, right click on the hierarchy window. We're going to create a light, 2D, global light. And the world now is bright again. Okay, and we're going to hit enter to save the name here. And you're going to ask me, Mr. Wynn, it looks exactly like it did before, but here's the great part. We can change the intensity. So now I can make it a night scene with very low intensity. So intensity goes from 0 to 1, or actually 0 to infinite, I guess, to make it really bright. But I want to make it kind of a dark scene, so kind of like at night here. And if you want, you can even change the color to orange or yellow to kind of mimic sunlight or sundown, depending on what color you want to do. Okay, and so I want to keep it dark. Okay, and we have our global light to keep it dark. Now, what we're going to do now is give the character kind of a field of vision. So when he's walking at night, when he's close to it, he can see a little bit better than this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click on character, and I'm going to create another light that's a child of the character. So I'm going to add a spotlight to the character here. Make sure it's 2D spotlight. So it's right here, or point light, sorry, 2D point light. And you can see here now that there is light around my character. Okay. Now let's teach you guys real quickly how to hit enter to save the name here, and now teach you guys how to use the widgets. So you can see here that there are several widgets. One is I can basically drag this circle out here, left click this handle, and you can see I can increase the outer radius. You can see right here that it's being adjusted right here. You can also use this to adjust it as well. Okay, use the properties window. You can also control the inner radius. You can see here how much you want the light source to be. So if it's a light source, you want to have a large radius. But if you're doing a field of view, I would just have an inner radius of nothing. Now you can also control the diffusion, or what we call the fall off intensity. So basically how the light diffuses down as it gets closer to the center. And I always like about 50% or so. It looks kind of nice here. Okay. And then you can also change the color of the light if you want to do something else. But this one, I really want to just do a field of vision. I don't really want to think that my character is holding some type of lamp or something. I just want to give him a field of vision. So I'm going to decrease the intensity of the light to pretty low here. So just enough so it looks like he can see a little bit better at night. Now, obviously, you can do this much brighter and create lamps and whatnot. That's up to you. Now, I'm going to show you guys also some other things. You could rotate the light source. Okay, so why would you need to rotate it if it's a circle? Well, look at this. You could, if you want, create an arc. Okay, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a minute. But again, this is just some teaching you how to use some of the widgets. So this is kind of good. I kind of like this kind of look where I have a field of vision. Let's go and quick play and just see how it looks. So now you can see I have like kind of a field of vision where I can see, things that are close. And again, you can play with the numbers to get it the exact feel that you want. But this is pretty good to me in terms of field of vision. Now, what I also want to show you guys is how to add a light and use these widgets to kind of create like a lamp post light. So let's just go ahead and use my move tool and select this tree. Okay, this tree here is animated tree 0,8. So I'm just going to right click on it and create a light right as a child of it. so I know where it's located. So if I move the tree, I end up moving the light as well. And again, I'm going to use a 2D point light here. And now I'm going to use these widgets to kind of control what I want to do with this. So imagine that this tree instead is a light post. I'm going to move the light kind of up here. I'm going to increase the radius. So I'm going to kind of use the widgets now. I wonder if I can connect the widget. See, yep, I got the widget now. Right, so I can increase the widget here. I'm going to left click and drag these. So you can see here that I can kind of rotate and create kind of a triangular cone. I'm going to move that cone kind of upside down. Okay. I can increase the intensity of the light. So it has direction. I can change the inner circle to kind of make it match more of the size of a light that I'm looking to do. Okay. And you can actually change the light, because the light, even though you have different types of light, they're actually all controlled here. So I can go panoramic. I could go freeform. I can go sprite mode based on the sprite. I can go on point. I can go back to global. So it's all kind of right here. Okay. And again, I can control the angle. So kind of create a point light that kind of goes here. Okay. Create an inner circle, outer radius. And you can see how I can kind of limit the outer radius right here. You can see that it really creates that field of vision where it looks like an actual light post. Okay. Okay, that looks good. Again, you can control the color. If I want to make it a more yellow color, I can. Right. I can change it to, I said yellow color somewhere over here, right? So somewhere like a little yellowish. Okay. So something like that. Right? If it's a yellow light, again, I can change the intensity down, up. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to teach you guys how to create shadows. So normally, right, when a lamppost hits its own pole, it will cast a shadow behind it or to the left or to the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give this a shadow intensity. So you can see here my shadow intensity is somewhere close to 0.5, and this is going to create a shadow if I tell objects that they should cast a shadow. Okay, so this is just adjusting the light source to create shadows. I'm going to go back to the tree itself. Go back to the tree itself, and I'm going to show you guys how to make the tree itself cast a shadow. So I'm going to click on Add Component here, and I'm going to click on what they call Shadow Caster 2D. So just type in the word shadow, and it should pop up. Okay, and now I can edit the shape. Okay. So this shape now is a big square, which is not an accurate shadow for this lamppost. What I'm going to do is I'm going to left click and drag these knots. And these knots kind of work just like you do with vector objects. And I'm just going to create a shadow that's about the size of the pole. Okay. And you can see here, this pole now blocks light. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click or done, hit enter when you're done. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my light source now. You can see that the shadow is kind of casting the wrong way. So I just need to move my light source a little bit differently. Okay. You can see that if I move the light just a little bit, it looks like it's casting a real shadow on itself. Okay. And actually, I'm going to show you guys by hitting play that a second shadow will be formed by the player. So you see here that this is still, even though it's a field of vision, technically it's still a light. You can see here, if I kind of go here, it creates a little shadow around this lamppost. Okay. And I'm probably going to have to kind of increase the light here. I'm going to go to back to my hierarchy. I can do this inside game mode. It's not a problem. I'm going to go back to my point light here. And I'm just going to increase intensity just to show you guys that we are casting extra shadows. So make sure I'm on point light, and I'm going to go to intensity. So now that my intensity is higher, you should see, oh yeah, now if I increase the shadow intensity here, you can see that when I stand, I'm casting a light around the object. So if your character is carrying a lamp, the shadows are dynamically created and gives you that real feeling of depth that that tree is actually there. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and turn this off now. Okay. So now you have seen the ability to create shadows and light. I'm going to show you guys just one more type of light here. I'm just going to, let's say you want to light up a room. So you guys can just simply right click, go to create light here. And I'm going to create a 2D and freeform. So freeform is just like it sounds. It allows you to kind of create the angles by clicking the edit shape. And you can go ahead and create lights, a room in a light. Okay. And kind of create a lit room inside here. Okay. And this is the kind of thing I want to show you guys the most important about these lights. These lights are objects. So using the scripts that I have taught you how to use on enter trigger, you can invoke the disable and enable of any object. So basically, even the global light, for example, could be shut off and turned back on to create different days and effects for rooms, for areas, for the world. And it really gives your game a sense of time and space when you add in lighting and shadows. Okay, so that does it for my video. Hopefully this will help you guys get caught up for those of you who weren't there. And good luck, gamers.